Let's start with the nation. Survivors recount moment train slammed into bus. Wike, we will chase away Atiku, others to build PDP. INEC rejects court ruling on temporary voter cards use. Federal government cautions doctors against joining strikes. APC National Working Committee member dies. APC uncovers plot by fake Nadeco chief to discredit poll. 25 killed in Badagry, Enugu, Ogbomoso, and road crashes. APC, LP, NNPP differ on shift of governorship polls. Okay, which story are you starting with?
Let me just start with the train experience. And victims, survivors are now talking. One of the survivors, Kazim Biola, said that he was sitting by the door when this collision happened, and that they were just midway through the rail at Shogunle when the train crashed into them. But he remembered that as they were approaching the crossing, that, you know, they were talking to everybody in the bus was trying to caution the driver to wait. Other cars were waiting, but this driver just would not listen, and he tried to go across the rail. Now, in the accounts, one of them also said that, you know, they think, I'm waiting for the Nigerian Railway Commission to confirm that magnets from the rail held the bus, and so they couldn't complete the crossing, but he wanted to dash across the crossing, and they couldn't stop. He wouldn't stop, and then they got that collision. 2 women died on the spot. The governor has spoken about it. He gave an assessment of what was happening at last week. Maybe later on we'll have more details of that, but he said that, you know, they have some mild cases, about 8 mild cases, you know, trying to get the numbers again. And, you know, some extreme cases. 4 more people died at last week. No. Some are in terrible conditions. 79 people survived, though, but, you know, it's in a state of mourning right now in Lagos State. And so they have 42 moderate cases, 29 serious cases, and 8 mild injuries. Now, from the account of one of the occupants of the bus, said the bus was coming from Ikotun to Alausa, and he was on his way to work. Fortunately, this guy works with lasema, and he says that he jumped out of the bus. Several occupants of the bus also jumped out of the bus, so they had mild bruises on their hand. That they just thought once the collision happened and they were closer to the door, jumping out was an option, and they took it, and, you know, they were able to jump out. But, you know, it was a fast, so they would also...
The impact, those who were impacted definitely would have died immediately.
So the 2 women died immediately, sadly. I went to Alausa yesterday because I have some business to run at Lands, and everywhere was quiet. They were in mourning, and, you know, and I thought business as usual would go on, and no. You know, we know the people in the bus. You know, they had names. One of the staff was so lucky. She said she had missed the bus. She was pregnant, and she was running after the bus trying to stop it, but the bus would not stop for her. So she was just grateful yesterday. Everywhere was just calm. It was a very dark.
Really sad.
Is there any information on the driver? Do you know if it's
Yes. So the Commissioner for Transportation spoke and said the driver is presently under detention and in treatment, and he would answer for his actions as well.
In road accidents in Oyo, Enugu, and Lagos State. 10 commuters involved in the Oyo-Ogbomoso road accident and 5 in the Badagry-Lagos incident were burnt beyond recognition. He said the Oyo crash was a collision between the Mazda and Toyota Hiace buses. The FRSC confirmed this in the news, and they said the accident happened about 5:30 a.m. around kilometer 12 on Oyo-Ogbomoso Road. Said the buses were basically from, you know, Lagos and Nasarawa states. Then immediately the crash happened, the vehicle went up in flames, and, you know, they are trying to attribute the accident to overspeeding and overloading. The Enugu incident, on the other hand, happened on Onitsha-Enugu expressway, and it was a collision between a bus and a truck. 10 persons died also from that crash, and they said it was an 18-seater bus. It ran into a trailer that was carrying cement, you know, and, you know, they've been talking about this, a lot of things in mind. Reckless driving, the roads not being so good, people trying to overtake, like this particular, the last one that just happened in Enugu, it was an overtaking. So the truck was smoking and the driver did not see it, and it was just a crash. We need to be very, very careful on the roads.
All
Yeah,
right.
so
Yeah, the story,
Yes,
Anisha?
I do. I'll take us back to politics and our elections. So, as we know, INEC has postponed the elections that were supposed to hold tomorrow to March 18th. And then we have, and this report is about the response of at least 4 of the major political parties to this information. It says that APC is fine with it. They said APC respects the INEC decision to shift the poll, but we have LP and Nigeria People's Party, NMPP, who are not happy about it as well as PDP. APC says that, okay, they will respect the decision to postpone it, but that and this is because, you know, they have to get the information for beavers in time for the governorship election. So this is, you know, there's a court process going on, and this has to be sort of downloaded and put aside and backed up until the election. So APC is saying that as long as you can preserve the integrity of the data, we're fine with you shifting the elections. The other parties were not so gracious. LP says, as far as they're concerned, this shows lack of preparedness. Some of the parties says, after all the monies that you have, you expect that INEC would have a backup and things like that. But
all right, so the federal government was saying yesterday, while they were inducting 477 foreign-trained doctors in Nigeria, the federal government was saying that they cannot join strikes because they are under a different program. According to them, they said they have a freedom of association, joining the policy of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria. They are not regarded as members, however, of the Association of Resident Doctors. So when these guys go on strike, they don't expect them to join them. However, you are free to associate yourself with anybody. So you've traveled abroad, you're back now, and they've been training, they're now been engaged. I didn't realize that we're bringing forward. That's a good thing.
That's good.
And they said that by council policy, you're not members of the ARD. However, by Nigerian Constitution, there's freedom of association. You can join, but if they call for strike, don't join them because your program is structured and uninterrupted in each of the postings. So
maybe they should have their own
different association.
Yes.
Moving on to the punch, very quickly, Lagos train bus crash. NRC, lasema blame driver as FG orders probe. Roadblock victims tackle lawless soldiers over extortion and harassment. Visa revocation. Court bars CEO from running Seplat. NCAA probes Lufthansa over alleged passengers' maltreatment. INEC faults judgment permitting temporary voter cards for polls. Okay, which story are we going with?
the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has begun investigation into what is alleged maltreatment of Nigeria-bound passengers by Lufthansa Airlines. The general manager of NCAA says that, they got information that there had been maltreatment of about 200 Nigerian-bound passengers on this German carrier airline. It happens that this flight was supposed to be Frankfurt to Lagos and was supposed to have arrived at 5:45 p.m. It says the flight got there and then hovered for about an hour in our airspace and then diverted to Cotonou to drop off some people, and that's in Benin Republic, and then Malabo in Equatorial Guinea to drop off about 15 people, much less than the numbers that were going to disembark here in Lagos. And then they brought them back to Lagos at 2 a.m. So the passengers were like, well, then you better figure out our accommodations. You cannot drop us here at 2 a.m. And the airline were like, if you don't clear, and we'll get police here to arrest you. So they have reported, and NCAA says it's investigating, but stakeholders are also talking. They said it even sends a very dangerous message to hijackers to say, oh, okay, so there's a possibility that it can just come into our airspace and then move out of that. And so his stakeholders are saying that NCAA should make sure they investigate this properly and, it's sorted out.
Okay, let me just take another story of such maltreatment from foreign people. So the Federal High Court in Lagos has barred or restrained Mr. Roger Brown, the CEO of Seplat Energy, from parading himself and as the firm CEO, pending the termination of that suit filed by some members of staff alleging, unfair treatment, preference for foreign workers, prejudicial and oppressive manner treatment, and all of that, which are the details of the petition against him. They also restrained the chairman of the firm's board of directors, Mr. Basilomi, and all other non-executive directors under them from continuing to run the affairs of Seplat in that illegal, unfair, prejudicial, oppressive manner pending the hearing and determination of the petition against them. So the applicants who brought the suit are Moses Ibrude, Sarat Kudaisi, Kenneth Nabike, and Ajani Abidoye and Robert Ibekwe. They are members of staff who felt treated badly and they went to court. They did the right thing. And also we are a sovereign nation. We are above any individual as a nation, and you must conduct business here according to the law. Lufthansa, for instance, shouldn't have treated Nigerians in that manner, and we must always uphold that as a nation.
Yes. Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. We see the story.
So I took a report by Punch yesterday on the activities of soldiers mounting a block at Urimerumu, end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, to extort money in the process, then also exposing them to residents and hoodlums who would come in with machetes and try to rob the passengers and drivers who are stuck at the gridlock. So the punchman, Olalikon, who was also attempted to, they actually smashed his vehicle while they attempted to rob him, was the one also talking about the story, and they were able to get more witnesses to say that this has been happening for years in that area. Said the roadblock has been on for over 5 years, and every evening from 9:30 p.m. you see a lot of soldiers setting up the roadblocks. They've tried to report to the soldiers and the authority, and they say they don't do anything about it. And they cannot say that their heads are not aware, because you see them like in batches, in groups, different groups. This group will leave, the next group will come, and all that. However, they contacted the spokesperson, 81 Division Nigerian Army, Lieutenant Colonel Olabisi Ayeni, and he said he promised that he was going to get to the root of the matter. He would get his, requesting for information now, he'll get it, and then he'll see what he'll do about that area, because residents are really complaining.
Okay, moving on now to Vanguard. APC Labour Party, IPAC, others disagree concerning the shifting of the governorship polls. Old notes, cash crunch worsens as Nigerians wait on Buhari. Plans afoot to cause chaos after global polls, DSS warns Nigerians. Lagos spare parts market fire, traders lament seek government assistance. Oh, June 12, 1993, saga won't repeat itself, says presidency. Train BRT Bosch, we begged the driver not to wait, but he refused. And governorship poll, court orders INEC to allow temporary voters card use. Okay. Which story are we starting with?
I have an interesting one here. It's a magistrate court sitting in Akure, Ondo State, has ordered the remand of a man, Oni Samuel, in prison custody in the state for allegedly defrauding a sex worker. Blessing or light. So the said Samuel was arrested by men of the police because he defrauded Blessing of 120,000 naira. And then while Blessing was talking to the court, he told them that she's a professional sex worker, and the defendant allegedly collected 80,000 naira cash after sleeping with her on that particular night. And she explained that the cash was to be transferred to her with an additional 15,000 for service charge. But then this guy refused to transfer the money, and they have dragged him to court. And while the case was heard in court, he was requesting for bail. Initially, they said they were not going to grant him bail, that he's at a flight risk. But finally, they had given him bail and a surety with, is it what, 200,000 naira surety for his bail. And the matter has been adjourned to April 17, 2023. So now you can actually take anybody to court, even if you're a sex worker, if they promise to pay you and they don't pay you back.
All right, so the Department of State Services, DSS, has warned that their plans to cause a breakdown of law and order immediately after the gubernatorial elections and state assembly elections. The spokesperson was saying, Peter Ufanayam was saying yesterday, unnecessary, palpable political tension in parts of the country is expected. It's observed that some players are daggers drawn with one another. Development holds their consequences for our stability. It is in view of this that the DSS and other sister agencies are engaging and asking politicians to engage themselves constructively. Everyone is advised to shun fake news, hate speech, and other utterances that may be inimical to peaceful coexistence within our country. And this is a cause for concern, especially politicians. You need to tell all your followers, we don't want to burn down this country, and this rhetoric must not fester anymore. We have to stop it and nip it in the bud immediately. And I think the leaders of each of the parties, each of the followers, they're the ones that have the following, should speak up and speak to their supporters.
So these cash issues that we are having, Vanguard went to town. We found out that banks are paying out old notes, but then insisting that the people who need to deposit old notes must generate the CBN code that was required before the Supreme Court judgment. So causing people Nigerians to be afraid to follow that court order. So the CBN, the banks are insisting, must remove that requirement of the CRP registration for old notes before banks can then say, just, transact, deposit them and withdraw them. But banks have put these old notes in their ATMs. They are paying Nigerians the money and creating the fear because they're waiting on their regulatory body to speak. At this point now, let's use this money to beg President Muhammadu Buhari. I'm sure he has returned. To call his appointee, the CBN governor, to do something so that Nigerians can continue to live life as normal.
With dignity.
With dignity. It's getting out of hand. You're confusing the banks of what's happening on one hand.
It's the president. Let him talk. We don't want to have him.
It's even Emefiele. They say that Emefiele say make them, they use CRP to pay to deposit old notes. So banks will pay you money and they won't collect it back.
That was before.
Will you collect that money?
That was before the Supreme Court judgment.
And we still have this hard conditions of cash crunch everywhere.
So that was before the Supreme Court judgment. Now that we have the Supreme Court judgment, it's important that either Emefiele, if he's not going to speak, let the president who came out to come and talk to us, Abi, let him also tell us, follow the court order, period. And that will because
Emefiele needs to instruct the banks.
Yes.
Because he's their regulator.
Yes, what she's saying is that Emefiele has a boss. If Emefiele is unable to talk, his boss, the president, can
move
speak.
him and put somebody that can talk.
Bankers will not listen to the boss.
No,
Please, we have let's move on. And this situation is bad. I don't even want to complete the story, the report as it is. The one that I have just taken is a summary of what is happening now. President Muhammad Buhari, you need to direct. Today is Friday. Direct before Monday what banks should do going forward. Before they start burning everywhere again. I've been waiting, we see no bad.
Bad though.
Nigerian Tribune. 6 died, 70 injured in train Lagos government staff bus collision. Court orders INEC to allow 2 voters to use a temporary voter card March 18 poll. 10 died in the Oyo-Ogbomosho road accident. Nadeco has no branch in the USA, says Okwadokun. 1 killed, 15 injured as APC-PDP supporters clash in Bauchi. Okay. Story
so the INEC story. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered INEC to allow just 2 voters who filed this action before the Federal High Court to use their temporary voters card as against the permanent voters card, which is missing for both of them. So they had actually brought the action to allow everybody vote using their temporary voters card. But the court said that the reason they are giving the order to allow these 2 is because they were duly registered and captured under INEC's database. So INEC has their detail, and if they can show that they believe that, you can allow INEC, since we're all techie now, use the beavers to find their details and allow them vote. So that's what the court said. So it's not a blanket judgment. The court did not say, they did not file it in representative capacity of everybody who doesn't have the PVC but have their TVC. So only 2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, no other stories?
I have a story. A former Inspector General of Police, Michael Kiro, yesterday was charging the IGP, that's Alkali Baba, and the service chiefs to take responsibility for any violence that may occur in polling units across the country during the next gubernatorial and state House of Assembly elections in March 18. So they're supposed to avoid what happened in the last election, and he's telling them that the police must be responsible. They are not there to just stand and watch while electoral violence is going on. They have to do something about it, and they will be held responsible. But I would have also suggested that they sort of aid them. I'm not saying they should carry ammunitions or guns, but they should have things like, no, not dogs, have things like tear gas or something, because most of them were, from what I could deduct, were seemed overwhelmed. They didn't have anything with them, so they didn't have the ability to stop the people who were dragging ballot boxes. But if they have things like a tear gas, nothing too dangerous, that could also help the work.
You know, basic
know.
things. You know, orderliness is really basic.
It's not about orderliness.
You know, sometimes, if you enter a place that is structured, there's really no plan for polling units. Everybody just comes and sorts themselves out, how you line up, there are no barricades, there's no where you stand. You know, when there's structure, people somewhat fall in line. But when you just come in and just stand anywhere, just pick a number, you know, those are the kind of things that causes violence and disruption sometimes.
In this case,
Online
it wasn't
voting.
what caused violence because we came, we didn't have any of the structures. We organized ourselves as Nigerians. We're on the queue waiting for INEC when they came.
You in Lekki,
No, I'm
some
just,
people in
they're
some
on
no, I'm just
places
saying,
not.
but
Well, no, what
while
we're
we
trying to
were
explain
on the
is-
queue,
Yeah.
hoodlums came. Even with barricades and all of that, when hoodlums want to come, they will come. So the point is, what will the police do when they are standing by? They should have a form of help.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Just make their job
I'm not
easy.
disputing that. I think it's a good point. I think that's all we can.